So fermented foods for the soil.
Fermented foods for the soil, yes.
Well, tell me about that.
So I use a specific bacteria, Lactobacillus,
Mm-hmm.
and I treat nutrient dense plant matter, the prebiotics, with
Mm-hmm.
these probiotics, with the microbes,
Mm-hmm.
and give them time to brew and consume that plant matter, create a liquid slurry that contains the nutrition and the what's called secondary metabolites of these microbes, the bacteria. And then we feed that to the soil. This concentrated liquid is fed into the soil, and that becomes more a probiotic inoculant in the soil.
Mm-hmm.
And those secondary metabolites act as some of them are enzymes. We have biostimulants. We have hormones, organic acids, all kind of things in that microbial manure set or the
Sure.
secondary metabolites.
Smells probably kind of a little bad too, huh?
It's pretty funky, depending what you're fermenting and how long you let the microbes work on the food supply. It's the stink
Is longer better?
for, in my opinion, for like richness, it is.
Okay.
A lot of people prefer a shorter brew because the smell is less. Because it's if you before there's also sugar. I put sugar in there as a fast acting food supply. And if you capture it before the sugar is entirely consumed, it still has a little bit of a sweet smell.
Okay.
But for me personally, I say like let the sugars be consumed entirely and deal with the smell.
Yeah.
It's-
And the purpose of the sugar is to give the bacteria a chance to like flourish while they're breaking down the substance, like pumpkin or nettles, or what are some of the other ones that you
Comfrey,
use?
hemp, pumpkin,
Yeah.
peaches. Yeah, the sugar is like it's a fast acting food supply. It's not a great food supply. It's not the best food supply, but it's
Sure.
something that's readily available. The population of microbes are going to immediately consume, and immediately that population is going to expand pretty quick. And then the nutrient dense plant matter, that's like a long food supply. That's something that takes time to really be
Yeah.
consumed. So you get your population increase, and then you get the like devouring of that main food supply, the primary supply.
So prebiotics and Lactobacillus, the genus. So have you ever had your products tested? Like there are a bunch of different types of Lactobacillus in your products?
Yes, plantarum is a big one.
Okay.
There's a couple of them. Boy, I should have memorized these, but
That's
yeah,
it.
there's several that are more unique and distinct in the way. And the names have changed recently in the
I
last
just saw that in my data. I was like, it's like Lactobacillus casei or something. I was like,
Cassia,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cassia is one of the like
Yeah.
main human probiotic ones,
Yeah.
and it's present in mine as well.
Cool.
Yeah, and it was like I used to think I knew the names, and now they've
It's the
changed.
constantly changing though. It's the same in like but botany. It's like, oh, it was in this genus and now it's in this genus, and it's like academic rigmarole basically.
But it's cool now because now we actually have the technology to do DNA sequencing so that like people can just do it on their own. People can have
That's
there's
cool.
home DNA sequencers to tell what if their mushroom they're collecting is the same as another mushroom they've collected in the past or yeah, so it's a cool time to be alive for identification because we can with some level of certainty tell what's related to what other than just by classifying it by like traits.
Right.
Always
Sure,
was.
that makes sense. So these secondary metabolites, so you've got hormones. So I'm thinking of like gibberellins and oh, I'm gonna forget my botany.
Auxins is another
Auxins, yeah,
set
that's right.
of them. Um, plant growth regulators is a kind of a category of hormonal
Sure.
stuff that. But yeah, then there's enzymes. The organic acids are in this one lactic acid bacteria. They create lactic acid. That's the most common.
Okay.
And these organic acids are major players in decomposition of organic matter. This is what the microbes actually do to break down the organic matter other than consume it. Their waste supply covers and coats that, mixes with the organic matter, the food supply, whatever it is, and that assists further breakdown
Sure.
and decomposition.
All right, that's pretty cool. So it smells kind of bad. Like we used bukashi at your recommendation, and bukashi is grains soaked in lactobacillus and dried, correct?
More or less, there can be like a whole consortia of microbes other than lactobacillus, but it's the kind of the primary one.
Yeah, what I thought was really cool about it is like we kind of layered it in our compost and just like a 5-gallon bucket, nothing too fancy. And by the time we even got like halfway full, it's just like kitchen scraps, nothing too crazy. it was already starting to decompose and become this like gnarly liquid. And we put those on our garden beds last year, and we didn't put our garden in until like 4th of July, and we still ended up with a pretty good harvest. And I think that it was because we put those bokashi buckets that smelled horrendous under the soil that we put in.
Yeah, it's a big inoculant. It provides a lot of nutrition.
The nutrition is
Gets
a big
that
piece.
compost kind of started before you add. Just a regular compost bucket doesn't
Yeah.
do much decomposition. And in my experience, the smell on a untreated kitchen scraps bucket is generally worse than a bokashi treated one.
Sure.
Yeah, just they're still stinky, but a little bit less, a little mitigated on the smell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's already so like nutrient dense, and it literally turned it into a liquid. Like those bacteria work, and they work effectively. And to really see our garden flourish after 3 years of struggling, moving back from the Pacific Northwest, gardens are almost effortless there, minus the slugs. But like this little bit reminder to come back to a dry and super alkaline soil climate.
It is a big adjustment, and yeah, the microbes, especially out here in the desert where everything's so dry, it's so difficult to establish microbial population in dry soil. So you just have to keep it wet. You just have to re-inoculate over and over. But yeah, it's night and day with and without microbes for sure.
So some of my training is in a little bit like when I was telling my friend about this is like, you seal the bucket, and she's like, oh my God, no, you're going to create anaerobic bacteria and it's going to be a problem and you're going to kill yourself. And, she kind of freaked out. And that's kind of my background is a little more of like, you got to have a little like air hole and aerated and blah, blah, blah. So can you explain a little bit about that process and why it's not actually bad?
Well, sure, yeah. And I mean, I would say that like you're correct in assuming that the microbes that are anaerobic are less desirable.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you're not going to want.
Right.
Lactobacillus is not anaerobic. It's facultative. Lactobacillus can live in anaerobic conditions. It can thrive in anaerobic conditions, but it's not an anaerobe. It will also thrive and live in aerobic conditions. There's lactobacillus floating around in the air everywhere we go, living on the surface of leaves, on the surface of our skin. There's also lactobacillus that lives inside of our stomachs in a completely non-aerated environment. This is actually a huge benefit for lactobacillus because in your garden, you might have anaerobic conditions. You might have a heavy rain and the soil just gets waterlogged. And this is the time when in most gardeners' minds, oh, we're in trouble now. The pathogens are going to move into this super wet soil.
Right.
If your soil is already treated with lactobacillus, it's going to fight off bad things.
Right.
It's a
The real
lactobacillus.
estate's been taken up, basically.
Exactly. And lactobacillus, in addition to being facultative, is also naturally antipathogenic. So pathogens and lactobacillus are at odds at all times.
Interesting.
Lactobacillus doesn't hurt living things. It only breaks down already dead things.
Right.
And it actively outcompetes, takes up the real estate of what would come in to hurt living things.
Sure.
This is why probiotic, positive for life, good for life, bad for things that are bad for life.
Right. And that makes sense. And thanks for explaining that facultative bit. It's like it would prefer to be aerobic, but it can be anaerobic.
Not even. This is why there's so many different varieties of it. This is why it derives all these classifications, is because certain species of lactobacillus are more suited for living inside of the stomachs of ruminant grazing animals. Some of them are more suited for living on the surfaces of leaves and fruit and plants. But yeah, so I wouldn't say that like has a preference one way or the other. It has a wide, diverse preference based on its like speciation.
Awesome. That's really neat. So, okay. Different nutrients, we get secondary metabolites, and this is where like you've told me not to worry too much about like what the fermented product is, whether it's peaches or nettle or comfrey, which in permaculture, comfrey is hugely nutrient dense, right? But there is a thought that like if you're trying to improve the vegetation, you want to use a leaf. If you're trying to improve the fruit, you want to use the fruit. Is that something you think is true?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is I just described this concept as like makes like.
Sure.
And one great corollary to this is just that a tree drops its leaves, those leaves decompose and become food supply for the roots in the canopy space of that tree. And those trees are generally happy and healthy out there in nature, just basically being enriched by their own dead waste. So this is how we kind of mimic biomimicry in our
I see.
farming preparations is by a lot of times, like, it's very direct. It's like, oh, you're a strawberry farmer. You have a lot of strawberry waste. You have old plants, dead plants, berries that weren't good enough for market, rotten berries, berries that are spoiled. All that is perfect for making a fertilizer to put back onto strawberries.
Right.
Because strawberries contain in them, healthy plants contain in them what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So breaking that back down and feeding it back to them makes a lot of sense in this way.
Totally.
There's also a triggering that happens between like fruit and vegging, like fruit stalks, stems, leaves, the different parts of a plant to trigger the growth of those specific parts of plants, like a root crop, like a pumpkin or rather a carrot or a turnip fermented as a fruit, but it's also a root and a fruiting body.
Aha.
So
Okay, so multi-purpose.
Yeah, like it's what we want it for and what part of the plant it is. So there is definitely a connection there to be had.
And you suspect that like the hormones and stuff like that are associated with producing more of the fruiting bodies or the vegetation is contributing to why it's better to do that way?
Yeah, I think that it's the microbial decomposition of it, and it's kind of like the microbes' take on the enzymes that made the pumpkin big and dense and heavy, and all the nutrition contained within that big, dense, heavy fruit, and then that combined with the magic of the digestion by microbes, the fermentation, as it's called in this case.
Right. Okay. So, moving away from like that into like actual practical uses. And this is something, again, I really appreciate about when I heard your talk at the Soil Farm and Food Forum in January is like, hey, like it can be this like really specific scientific food grade way, which is the Korean natural farming. Or you can do it a little more haggardly and kind of throw things in a bucket and get some microbes on there. Like, can you talk a little bit about those two procedures?
Sure. This is the Jadam method and the Korean natural farming method, which are literally father and son to each other. The creators are father and son. And Korean natural farming, many of the preps in Korean natural farming, when done correctly, can be used for humans. Can be like we make a syrup, a sweet syrup. It's delicious, and it can be plant or fruit infused. So delicious, so much probiotic benefits to these natural things. We make a vinegar, same way, human grade. All you have to do is make sure the fruit are clean, not spoiled, and that you're using
food grade, like buckets and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, kitchen style stuff. Jadam is completely the opposite, where it literally is just soil, some rich soil, water, and some plant matter in a bucket, and let it putrefy and rot and ferment all the different ways, and you would never put it anywhere near your lips, no matter what. And there's no confusion there. But I like to compare it to music. It's like symphonic music that you have to really practice classical. Each instrument has a part, and punk rock, where you just throw it all together and see what happens and make some noise and enjoy the process and be enriched by it.
Yeah. And that makes it really easy for people that are a little less organized, I guess you could say, which, organized chaos is kind of how I live my life. And, but I have a bucket that I've been doing that with, and it is not the same as like the bukashi, which is not exactly the Korean natural farming, right? But it's not as elegant of a breakdown, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, the microbial addition, just like I said, it's night and day. It's gardening without it, fermenting and making your own fertilizers. Similarly, without a specific inoculation, which in the Jadam, they just use soil, which is not specific. It's just whatever happens to be in your soil, your rich soil.
In my case, I was using past milk, like raw milk from my raw milk. And so I was like, there's whey and lactobacillus in here. Psh.
That's a specific inoculant. That's more than nothing.
Yeah.
But it is a big change when you start adding these decomposing microbes to your brews or to your soil. There's a remarkable change.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch, especially as a composter and having that experience previously, and then coming into this and saying, "Oh wow, like how could I have done it all that time? Why nobody told me this?
Yeah.
Why did nobody tell me this?" So it's an eye opening, and for a long time I was told by some people that I really looked up to that lactobacillus was like a trade secret. It was like something that people who excelled in their craft at horticulture, whether it was fruit trees or roses or flowers, cut flowers, whatever they were doing, people who excelled and kind of set aside were doing these little extra things,
I see.
and kind of not telling people about it, being like, oh yeah, that's one of my little
Yeah.
things I do.
So, okay, and this edibleness, I've done one of the preps for Korean natural farming, and it did not go well because I didn't do exactly the right ratios, and so it just didn't do anything really. Korean natural farming has specific ratios that you have to make the what's the OM, what's the first one?
OHN is a big one. IMO is a really big one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
IMO is basically Korean natural farming's version of compost.
Uh-huh.
It's like a deconstructed form of compost.
Sure.
And they go out, the first step in making IMO is going out into the woods or into a rich growing area and collecting microbes out of nature. That they call it the indigenous microbes. So the microbes that are living in your region, the indigenous microorganisms, that's what IMO stands for. So the first collection is done on rice because that's what they traditionally have in Korea is rice. They grow that there.
Yep, plenty.
We've adapted this and do it on, people have done it on oats here in the States. People have done IMO collections on all kinds of different grain type of materials.
Yeah, my attempt was on oat grouts, actually from a farmer out of Crawford, and it did not, I don't know if it was the shells were too hard, like the endosperm was too hard around it or what the deal was, but I just did not flop. That's part of the experiment.
Well, yeah, and this is why it's like classical music.
Right.
You don't just pick up a French horn one day and be like, I'm going to toot out my favorite tune. You know, it's like you learn, you practice, you sound terrible the first few times or like the first few months or years. Yeah, this is why Korean natural farming takes time and patience and a commitment. And this is also why Jadam exists, is because some people need to grow food and they ain't got time for all this preparation and practice. And it's also about access. Like, you need rice and sugar to start Korean natural farming. And let's be honest, there's farmers out there in the world who don't have access to rice or sugar. And if they did, maybe they wouldn't need to farm so hard because those are foods. That's food also.
Right.
So Jadam starts with what every single farmer on earth has access to: water,
Waste.
dirt, and plant matter.
Yeah,
If you don't have access to water, dirt, or plant matter, you're probably not going to be a successful farmer.
definitely not.
It's like outer space on a hydro table or something. Like, but yeah, water, soil, and plant matter are intrinsic to farming on Earth. So every farmer can make Jadam preps.
I love that. It does make it accessible. And it's like, what is the percentages of farmers? It's like the average age is 67. And we used to have farmers all the time. And now it's like less than 5% of the United States are farmers. Like that's pretty scary statistics when you actually think about it. And natural grocers recently, UNFI just had a hacking. Were you aware of this?
Oh, wow.
UNFI had a hack, and it like has had an effect on stores across the nation for almost a month now, maybe a little longer. And it's like, that is the negative of having such a huge conglomerate in charge of our food.
Yeah, consolidated food supply is dangerous, just like the consolidation of any other thing. It's
Yep.
like, oh, less things to topple that we're going to feel it quicker. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's scary because I was just at Natural Grocers and saw some signs that were like, we don't have things on these shelves. Sorry.
And it was worse a few weeks ago. Like they were missing like maybe a third of what they usually have. Like seriously.
Wow.
And like that's the impact of this. And so like knowing farmers and like helping farmers do better, like these little things of sharing Jadam and these Lactobacillus, the labs as they call them, they even call them that in the data, which is really cool. Even in probiotic human research, which is neat.
Yeah, labs is a universal thing now. Love it.
So what about, okay, so going back to compost, it's like we want the bacteria and the fungus to be in an appropriate ratio. And one of the thoughts in how I was originally trained is like too much bacteria leads to not the best plants, and a little more fungus is actually better. And so we're adding more bacteria to the soil. What's up with that?
So, yeah, generally the battle is to create more fungi. Lactobacillus, so the short answer, what I would say to this is microbial succession. And this is the idea that microbes, like everything has their time and place, and everything happens in a cycle.
Yeah.
And Lactobacillus and other bacillus strains have been proven in research to actually increase the fruiting and the growth of fungi because of elements with the what's it called? When water the evaporation of water, microbial action inside of a solution changes how water evaporates.
Okay.
Also, there's a subtle competition for food supply. When the fungi recognizes competition for food supply, they become more vigorous. But yeah, basically, Lactobacillus is good for fungal growth. It's not going to become so dominant that it's going to outcompete fungi.
Yeah.
And I've experienced this. I grow oyster mushrooms in a little hoop, and I've experienced this by just treating the fruiting body of the substrate. The fruit come out harder. The
Nice.
flushes come out quicker, and I get less. I never really got much contamination, but other mushroom growers have reported less contamination because, again, the lactobacillus is acting as an antipathogen.
Yeah, the probiotic, exactly. So that goes to what I was finding in my research for my other episode on probiotics, where it changes like the foundation of the microbiome, like with the metabolites, and also the fact that there's like a substrate that you're spraying the lactobacillus with, like whether it's the pumpkin or whatever, like it's providing nutrients and it's preventing other things from taking hold. Like, what is the word that they freaking used? Microbial remodeling. And that is exactly,
Remodeling, okay.
yeah.
I like that.
I like that too. And that's what you're saying. It's like microbial succession. Like lactobacillus makes space for the fungus to take hold, basically, to improve the nutrient density of the soil.
Yeah, and I like the idea of remodeling too, because it's also a physical characteristic. Like when you take a food supply, it's pretty obvious with like pumpkins and peaches, where you ferment them and they literally like turn to a goo. They remodel it completely. But there's even work people have done where they take microbial consortia that include lactobacillus and ferment or treat like ceramic powder. And the microbes, just by living on and habitating on and incorporating into this powder, they somehow change the surface of it and the structure of it, like literally physically remodel it. And then these post-inoculated or post-fermented ceramic dusts are added to paints and concretes to increase VOC off-gassing and make them safer.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this is stuff that's like pre-scientific, where we don't even really fully understand it, but this was developed in Japan by Taro Higa, who started EM1, which was kind of the beginning of lactobacillus's popularity. It was around this product. So yeah, there is like and the grain, when we ferment the grain, it comes out looking very similar to what went in, but the grain is fundamentally altered after that fermentation. Even when you dry it out and kind of take away a lot of the active fermentation and life from it, that grain, if you looked at post-inoculated dried out wheat bran and pre-inoculated dried out wheat bran, they're fundamentally different. You can tell that something structurally has changed.
So this is interesting. So it changes the ceramic powder. So, and then there's all this conversation that I've heard. Now we're kind of getting on a tangent, but like plastics, microplastics, PFAS, like all this, like these things that are kind of scary to think about, like the future of the planet we live on. Microbes, I think, are the solution to this.
100%. I mean, if something is being persistent in our ecosystems and not breaking down, like microplastics, it's only a matter of time before nature finds a way to break that down. And if it's a microplastic, it's going to be a microorganism doing that breakdown, I'm guessing. So if it doesn't exist yet, our good friend evolution will step in and find a way to tap a certain microbial population to evolve into the niche in that ecosystem to consume what's persistent.
Yeah.
What's not being, so I believe that.
Yeah.
I think that we have fossil fuels as a result of that, of microbes figuring out how to break down massive amounts of organic matter.
And the PFAS thing too. It's like, that's the biggest. I had a family member who's a water engineer on, and we were talking about water treatment facilities, which I did not know that they use microbes for.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Yeah, that's like one of the first, like in the process, it's like one of the first initial treatments that they do is microbial breakdown after they've scraped off all the chunks,
Like
if you will.
physical
Yeah,
removal, and then microbes and like
exactly.
chemicals. And
To break it down, exactly.
very cool.
And then they're using a lot of UV, but the biggest problem water treatment facilities are actually having is removing PFAS. Like they have no idea how to do it. They're non-reactive. Nothing binds to them. Any of these companies that try and tell you that you're going to get your PFAS out, like don't believe them. It's kind of bullshit. And they're trying to toot their horn and sell you some marketing mumbo jumbo.
Because it doesn't exist yet technologically. We don't have a solution to the
No,
PFAS.
we do not have it. But I think microbes might be like, I was like, ceramic, like that's a non-organic substance, and like PFAS are non-organic substances as well. And it's like and not thinking like organic food, but like non-organic as in rock, like it's a mineral.
Yeah, carbon bearing. Yeah, the what's pre-scientific now will soon be like the standard practices in the new paradigm of dealing with environmental
All of
the
it.
environmental atrocities.
East Palestine, all of it, everything that we've had happen. I mean, all these fires that we have around us right now too. It's like, but that unfortunately we live in an ecosystem that needs fires in order for the system to thrive.
It's part of it. Yeah, it's part.
And that's part of this like succession. And it's like as hard as it is, but it's part of the package.
Right, exactly. Everything has a time. Just like it's like the burn morels.
Yeah, exactly.
After a fire at high elevation, we get the flushes of burn morels, which is delicious.
The best mushrooms of them all, in my opinion.
Yeah. The burnies are a little bit different. They're a little bit you get a little bit of different flavor from
harsher
because they're like coming up out of the cinder, out of the ashes from last. But yeah, everything has a time. Fire is part of it. We don't love to see it. It's just part of it.
Yeah. What else is there that you think would be important for our listeners to know about ferments and the application for home gardeners or farmers?
Well, I mean, I teach how to make these things, so it's open source. There's not many companies out there that are going to have a bottle that's on the shelves to sell you, and at the same time, with the other hand, be teaching you how to make it and empowering farmers to do this at scale. And really encouraging people to tap into, I'm big on waste stream, tap into your waste stream, what's available to you. And let's start using that as ferment material or even as human food material. Like if we're sorting through good and bad food, the good stuff that's not good enough to sell, but still human grade could be turned into these dual purpose human and farm probiotics. So I love to empower and teach. I love seeing my products on the shelves and seeing sales, but I really love to share the primary resource knowledge or the firsthand knowledge of like where this product came from. That's kind of the biggest thing for me is the empowerment around the knowledge that once we know these things, once we're aware of the concepts, the empowerment just skyrockets, and the ability to do these things for yourself and for your community, and the application in like agriculture, human probiotics, prebiotics, again, waste management.
The applications for fermentation are pretty extensive. And like I said, learning about it from the water perspective, I didn't even realize that was happening. And it gave me a lot more respect for our water treatment facilities because they put a lot of thought into it. It's not just like they're putting chlorine in the water and calling it a day. Like, no, there's some effort put into it.
Yeah. We're living in this time of technological advancement that we gotta really be grateful that microbes are being taken advantage of in this way. Another thing that I'm gonna start branching out into just because of the floods in my hometown in Asheville, North Carolina, is bioremediation, like using these microbes to help us heal the land or clear contamination out in a broad way. Not to say, we know this one thing is eating one thing, but more microbes, more microbial diversity in the soil and the water is going to help that ecosystem be more resilient to contamination and quicker to clean up and be useful for ag again, or safe for people again.
Potable water, exactly.
Yeah, or even just rec land, let's just inoculate everywhere. Let's make these preps and inoculate everywhere with it that standing flood water was sitting on for time because that,
the flood
stuff in that waters. Yeah. So bioremediation is another huge one, and there's a lot of attention on the soil being depleted or contaminated, and this is like the first step is like, okay, let's give it back to the earth for a second and do the work we're doing and just broadly put it in the soil and the waterways and the ponds and lakes. And this is something that I'm really excited to be sharing this aspect of it coming up. I've got a little class in Asheville coming up, so
Fun. Yeah, I really like the like open source bit of it too, because it's like, in my experience, people are not going to do it, but they have the option. Like if they're really in a pinch, like the stories I've heard from some regenerative farmers, it's like, hey, they lost their crops 3 years in a row. They didn't really have the money to buy seeds or fertilizer, so they kind of were back against the wall. Like let's try something else. And when you're in that place, like you said, you've got water, you've got soil, you've got plant material, done.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, it's unfortunate the situation that people find themselves in.
Yeah.
But it's also really nice to see people going against that assumption that they're not going to do it. It's like, sure, it's cool to learn, and even if you learn how to do something and how something works, it might empower you just to use it and buy it off the shelves, even if you never make it yourself. But the mother of invention being necessity, or just the mother of doing it, just you have to do it because you need to. Yeah. I mean, that's what got me into all this stuff, was not being able to go out and get fertilizer, not being able to, just being in that. And I knew I had the knowledge, I knew the resources existed, but it took me actually not being in that difficult situation, rock in a hard place, to go out and just start doing all the things I knew would help.
Yeah.
And then it took about a year of seeing the results to say, wow, I'm not going back to buying fertilizer. Like, I'm not going back to doing it the way I did before. This is vastly superior in product quality and in cost of production.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, more money in the farmer's pocket then. Yeah, I'm an advocate for that, and like I know that's a little bit like snooty for me to say people aren't going to go and do it, but
no, you're right. It's not snooty at all. It's just accurate. That's just the way people are.
Until they have to. Like, but when you have to, then it's like, wow, I do feel empowered. Like I did have the skill. It like is this whole like the people in academia that have like 10 degrees and they are still seeking knowledge instead of applying the knowledge that they have. It's like, why don't you just start applying the knowledge that you have? Like, a lot more than you think you do. I would bet.
I love that. No, and I think that in my community of farmers and growers and gardeners, people are eager to try something new. So they're eager to take their pure science and turn it into applied science. Yeah. They're eager to do that. And some of them do it once or twice and then go back to buying it off the shelf. And some of them never go back from there, and they keep improving that and keep coming back to me and asking, hey, I made my own batch and it looks like this. Did I do something like this? Or I did different? And I love that too. That's really the ball getting rolling for the whole community to share this experience of doing it yourself, learning it.
Well, that's the experimentation piece of it. And what I really appreciate about the Jadam is like, it's a little more throw it in and see what happens rather than like doing it precision. But there is, like you said, classical music versus punk. They're different.
Yeah, no, the Jadam thing is very accessible, and the different people, just it's a personality thing. Some people, I really love the Korean natural farming side. I'm like a foodie. I love to eat. I'm really into cooking. So to me, the KNF side is like very, it has a lot of legs to go different places, and Jadam is like solely for the farm.
Yeah,
it lives on the farm. And there's a connectedness in Korean natural farming that connects culinary arts with agriculture that is like, just to me, is like really, and then you go beyond culinary arts and agriculture into human health, into probiotics, prebiotics, and it's just so deep and beautiful.
It is.
I'm so enthralled by it, and that's why I would say nowadays I do more KNF things in my kitchen than I do in my garden.
Yeah. Well, then you're getting the probiotic benefits. And then my conclusion, if you want good, healthy gut and there's nothing wrong with you, have ferments. Like ferments do better than the kitchen sink probiotics is what I call them. The probiotics that have 20 plus strains in them and they're not a meaningful amount of any of them. So you're not getting actually any of the benefit or little of the benefit. I can't say none of the benefit, but you know what I mean. It's like the ferments have they're more intrinsically connected with us than something that was sterilized in a lab.
Yeah, I mean, and even like people don't consider sauerkraut as a ferment, but it's a ferment of 100%. Cabbage. It's a cabbage ferment. And another big one that I'm big on is like growing root vegetables and then not and eating them without washing them. Like just eat your root vegetables with just a little tiny bit of dirt on them.
Some minerals.
Yeah, well, the
Totally.
mineral and the microbes, like you're getting an inoculant of your soil microbes
Yeah.
directly on the fruit as
This is
you're
my
eating it.
argument for eating local food. And like the argument is like we live in this climate where we are in Colorado. Why would we be eating food from Southern California, which is a different climate than we have? And like a lot of our farmed produce that's in the grocery store, and no shade on that, but the fact is like we don't live in those climates. We live here. And those foods were picked weeks before and ripened with ethylene gas. Like it's a whole freaking thing. And I'll do an episode on it at some point. It's not me being snooty. It's the fact that we live where we fucking live and we have access. Like there are farmers everywhere, and the soil here for the good farmers that are doing a really good job that aren't just poisoning their soil, like it's beautiful. The soil is just like it's black gold,
Especially for being in the high desert. It's
Yeah.
like it's beautiful soil for any place on earth, but when you look around where we live at, this is like really incredible we can enrich to that level. And it certainly says something for the region and for people working the land.
Totally.
And it's not snooty to think there's ways to be happy that people are enriching the soil.
It's tending the land, which is such a. So I grew up Christian, and in my faith, we never talked about being a steward of the land, and it's talked about in the Bible over and over and over again. And it's a point that like I feel sad that we never talked about it in great detail, because that's like, oh, if you would have just said that, like it would have changed everything how I thought about the Christian faith.
Wait, environmentalism is God's work? Wait.
We are stewards. Like you've seen the like circle of the earth with humans part of like the natural cycle versus us on top of the hierarchy.
Right.
Like that's what we're meant to do. And I'm a firm believer that we are meant to tend the soil, to take care of the planet, and we are then provided for.
Yeah, yes. And we're the species conglomerator. We're the one that brings all the species together in a different, and we create our own functioning ecosystems like farms. Like
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of other species don't really do. They don't farm using all these other aspects of life around them. So we're in a key point in the ecosystem to provide massive benefit or massive detriment, and we're just now coming around, I feel like, as a global culture, as a human consciousness, to recognizing our role in that
Yeah.
like subtle energy ecosystem, to say that we could really could be the Garden of Eden, right?
We could.
Really could be that way.
Are you familiar that there's like multiple states that are trying to pass laws of like no liability for side companies, pesticide, herbicide, insecticide, vermicide? Multiple states have passed these laws so far. And the Farm Bill last year was actually, it was like a paragraph this big in their like almost 1,000-page document that was trying to give blanket immunity to side companies, which is just horrific.
I have a friend, you might know her, in Delta County, who's actually like suing one of her neighbors over like being them, their kid, their land, everything being oversprayed on, and she's like, yeah, she's really working it, and I've got a lot of admiration for somebody to stand up to the system and stand up for their sovereignty of like their body and their land from people who literally are just like going overboard with the chemicals. And like I get you're protecting an investment, but like you're not like doing anybody any favors.
Short-sighted.
Chemicals.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, and I really wonder about like neurodegeneration with its increase. There was a new study, and I'm going to talk about this in a later podcast, but the new study that just came out that if you live within a mile of a freaking golf course, your chance of having Parkinson's goes up dramatically. That's a severe neurodegenerative condition, and it's only getting worse and worse and worse. And people are getting diagnosed younger and younger.
And it's not like the same can be true about gas stations. It's like you don't want to be downhill, you don't want to live downhill from a gas station, because like
there's associations,
oxides are terrible. But gas station provides gas. It provides us like the ability to transcend time and space, to like travel distances that our ancestors would have thought was magical, you know. And a golf course is basically like fancy rich people recreate. It doesn't have as much like if we're talking about reward versus the cost, like the cost of a gas station is actually almost kind of worth it. Whereas the cost of
from one golfer from not a golfer to another not golfer.
Well, there's a good book called Slums of Aspen that's all about the ecological fallout of
Oh God.
golf courses. I believe it's called Slums of Aspen because a lot Aspen was used as a case study because for like the golf courses put up in this pristine environment, it's
Yeah.
like they really don't belong. Like
No. Again, we live in high alpine deserts. Like this is just not where green grass grows.
large greens,
No.
yeah. This is not the thing.
No.
Even pasture land is like a battle out here
Yeah.
to keep things established.
Yeah, but again, like if they were spraying lactobacillus on them, would we see better hay turnout, better crop turnout, less the things that they don't want in there, less of the delphiniums and less of the thistles and other, what are some of the other things people get all huffy about?
Well, certainly you're going to
Milk
get
thistles.
better, like with the treatment of microbes, lactobacillus specifically, you're going to get better emergence and vigor out of your target crops,
Yeah.
your seeded crops, and that's really the best thing I can say in terms of like keeping the bad things out. Is like you want to encourage your target crop to emerge quickest and most
Yeah.
vigorous.
That makes sense.
There are preparations for like thistle is a good one because thistle is super alkaline loving plant. And a lot of these bacterial preparations, like I said, are rich in organic acids, so they're lower pH. So if you treat a thistle patch over and over and over with these, specifically my ferments, the pH of that soil is going to drop, and it's going to make it less hospitable for the thistles.
Exactly.
So that's a specific example for sure that they can help with. And
Yeah.
it's just the microbes help so much with whether it's your target crop or a broad spectrum, like in a field. I have a great case study this year of a guy who bought a 55-gallon drum of ferments, and then we talked a lot about how he was going to apply it. And he just texted me the other day and was like, "Man, this is amazing. I can't wait to get you the numbers. Like, I wish I'd put it down sooner or harder earlier to get more
on
benefits."
hay or what?
Yeah, just on pasture for grazing and
Cool.
for I don't even think they were baling. I think it was literally just grazing.
That's awesome though, because like I mean, if this person is practicing regeneratively and they're doing like intensive grazing, like their animals are going to be more fed and need to be less moved around. You know.
Yeah, and conceptually, the lactobacillus in the soil is going to be correlate to lactobacillus on the plant matter on the grass, and that's going to correlate to lactobacillus in the stomach of the animal.
Oh,
And this is the now you're getting the fullness of the
reinoculation and like really bringing it full spectrum, especially if a herd did need to be treated for whatever reason or something like that. That's interesting.
inoculate the whole ecosystem. The whole, from the soil. It goes up, up the chain. So.
Yeah, I was pulling weeds at my office. Maybe I just need to go spray some ferment and see if that makes a difference, because there were some nasty pigweed and my favorite goat head, which is medicinal, but is a motherfucker.
The other thing is, every time you're picking all those fast-growing, vigorous plants we got, those are really great for fermenting. Like if you're just throwing them in a bucket, like I think of it like symbolic retribution, where it's like, you guys are in my way and I had to come and deal with you and sort you out, and now I'm going to ferment you and feed you back to the plants I do want to grow.
Oh, that's interesting. So that doesn't cause like seed growth or anything like that. Anything that would be seeded has been broken down.
When you separate, what I do is I separate my liquid from my plant slurry. Like when I make a ferment, I have the liquid part and I have the solid part, and I generally contain the solid part in a bag, and with like weights in it, with stones in it to keep it submerged. And then when I separate it, I separate out the liquid and I use the liquid on the garden, and then that solid slurry in the bag, I use that as like top dressings and mulching, and add it to my compost pile. And I have never had seeds come out of that. I think that seeds, depending on your ferment time and your process, seeds could survive that. But if you let it sit nice and long, like I do for richness, if you let it ferment for a good 40 to 60 days, I don't really foresee seed viability after that. It would have to be a strong,
vigorous
seed that really wanted to make it. So it's not generally a problem with the post-fermented material seeding.
That.
Yeah.
So ferments for the soil, add not only bacteria, but also add secondary metabolites, which include hormones and support the growth of plants that you do want, and also improve the soil so that fungus can take over, which is what we also want. Win-win really across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I always say the only downside to overusing them is the loss of efficiency. Like, you
Sure.
don't want to be wasteful with these preparations, but there's really no downside to doing it over, like, more regularly. I would
Yeah.
say if you're going to increase the um, regularity that you use it, just lower the dose. So just give a little bit less powerful of a dose more often.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I foliar spray these preparations onto the leaves of crops. I put it directly in the soil. I treat all my compost piles with it. Yeah, it's night and day for sure
Yeah.
with the microbes. And I think in my stomach too, when I'm eating fermented foods, when I'm using probiotics, when I incorporate the Korean natural farming stuff into my diet, I feel better. I feel just more even and regulated
Yeah.
in my mood and in my stomach and in my energy.
Yeah.
And it really does make a difference. And they're delicious. I mean, you don't. This is the connection with the culinary arts and where we always made something in the kitchen
Yeah.
that we didn't like the flavor of, and that always went out and eventually ended up in the garden. And we broke that cycle a little bit, and putting it back together in the modern era is kind of exciting and
Yeah,
fun.
and delicious too. I'm a big fan of kimchi, and I know I've had you and Derek did a thing a couple summers ago now with the fermented, and it was delicious. Also, your fermented peppers. I still remember you having that
Nuclear hot.
nuclear. Yes.
Yeah, we still have a lot of that one because you can't use it up. But yeah, hot pepper syrup. It was like a fermented fruit juice, we call it in Canada.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you remember that. And
3 drops.
take
3
took
drops.
of that dinner that we did at the Yarrow, because
Yeah.
that was I just found the menus for that, and I was like, wow, it's so fun to like revisit the things we do, because
Yeah.
like we do work. We bring
It's
big
cool
people
stuff,
together,
yeah.
and I'm so glad you were there and experienced that with us.
So you have some fermented products. You have a couple classes. Can you share where people can get those products? Where your class is
course.
going to be?
Of course. Yeah, so my product is called Fermented Plant Extracts. It is available via Build-A-Soil. Buildasoil.com is my distributor. They're a great product here, or a great company here in Montrose that makes their own fertilizers, makes their own soils, makes their own amendment sets, and good friends, real good friends. My website is Fermented Plant Extracts. There's a lot of online content available there for classes and information. I'm on Instagram, Fermented Plant Extracts, and yeah, I've been teaching classes all over at schools and with community groups for the past 4 or 5 years now, and just really feeling enriched by that and loving that. So I'm always looking for opportunities to network with nonprofits or schools, whether it's kids or adults or colleges. I've been working to get some like university studies using my product out there. The nursery plant program at University of Maui is using the products right now, which is exciting. Hopefully get a trip to Hawaii out of it to help them fine tune the process. But yeah, I've been really enjoying building up online content and just teaching a class to a number of people on a Zoom call and recording it, and then having that available for people. Because there's always somebody who I feel so inspired by, and I'm just like, you know what? I'll send you all the classes.
Yeah.
Like you'll actually watch them and pay attention. Like somebody said, sponsor me for this season. I was like, I'll sponsor you. I'll give you like 6 hours worth of class material. How about that? You watch it.
Yeah.
So I love that aspect of it too, of just kind of like sharing what I've gained through this process.
Empowering the people. Like you can take this, and it's practical application that you can start today.
Yeah, and I love to do both, like the theory and the pure science side of it, just the knowledge side of it. And then once you have that pure and informational side of it, now you can apply it. Now I can tell you how to do it, and you're going to be more empowered to do it because you understand why it works, because you got that theory side of it too. So yeah, the application is the most important, but yeah, I love explaining it all, and it's great to, again, the technology of the time, we can immerse ourselves in this knowledge and learn so much about it, and then put my spin on it and be like in this kind of setting, like how do I take all this research and apply it into a conversation or into a consultation, or I love it.
So Miles, thank you so much. You've been a great guest today. This is fantastic to get to share it with my community. And if you guys found this episode interesting, something that you are annoyed by and you want to talk about it in the comments, let's have a conversation. If you don't subscribe to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, because that's how I know that this is of use and value to my community. And thank you so much for your time.